I think there's a common archetype of people expect a Marine officer to be a disciplinarian, authoritative. And that was kind of my fear of the Marine Corps going into it. And when I joined the Marine Corps, that was absolutely not what I found. So my first company commander, I was a rifle platoon commander. My first company commander was a guy named Brian who Chantosh is one of the most decorated Marines from the war in Iraq, and so he has a Navy Cross from the march up, where it's all publicly documented. He drove his Humvee into a trench line and cleared the entire trench line by himself, and then I have a couple Bronze Stars on top of that too, I believe, from the Battle of Fallujah. But so I showed up, and this was my direct boss, this legend, and you expect him. You expect that authoritarian disciplinarian, and so I showed up and we immediately went overseas to Kuwait. I'd had my platoon for maybe a week. And so like anything in life, they give the new guy a basic task to see, can you perform? Can you do some small stuff right? And so my basic task was to run a training range in the desert of Kuwait. And it was a squad online. So 12 Marines all moving and shooting in one direction, one axis. So it's pretty simple. You've got nothing crossing. You're not going to hit each other. We'd built a berm at the end where you throw a grenade at the end, and you take cover behind the berm. And so I set this all up. I walk behind that first squad as they're going down just to observe it, make sure everything's going okay. We get to the end, the Marines throw grenades. I take cover, and the guy next to me is a private first class. He starts yelling, "I'm hit." And I'm like, how are you hit? We're behind this berm.
Right.
And he had taken cover with his arm on top of the berm. And sure enough, he's got a big piece of shrapnel sticking out of his wrist. I'm thinking, oh, cool, I'm going to get fired, week 2 of the Marine Corps. So I go back and I got to tell Chantosh, this legend, that in my first day on the job, my first real day on the job, one of our Marines hit himself with a grenade. So we walk up, we were on the middle of the desert. So he was under camouflage netting, which was over the ammunition to keep it cool, and he's asleep. And so I gotta, grab this guy's shoulder and kind of wake him up, which is always an awkward position to be in. So he wakes up. What? I said, well, sir, PFC Smiley hit himself with a grenade. And he goes, "You got it?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. He's okay. I've got it." He goes, "Okay," and he falls back asleep. And like that for me was such an empowering moment of like, hey, like, you know what you're doing. I've got trust and confidence in you. Like, go operate. And I was like, okay, like I can do this. And so bringing that mentality of, as a leader, I'm going to give you my intent, but I'm going to then allow decentralized execution. Because to your point, I think people want to be given the right answer, but none of us know exactly the right answer. And so if I can give you the general intent, here's where we want to go. Like, we want to remove barriers to access to primary care. We want to have great quality of care. We want to have great customer service. And we want everything we do to be aligned with the appropriate incentives. And then let's go figure out, and I need this big team to figure out how to actually do that and empower them to do the same thing that he did for me. Like, hey, you've got this, you're capable, you're trained, you know what you're doing, go do it.